What is fiscal policy? What are the fiscal policy instruments? What are objectives of fiscal policy, and what does the contra-cyclical fiscal policy mean? Welcome you all to the video. Here we are going to look at all these matters in this video. First, let's look fiscal policy. Fiscal policy is the policy of the government related to public expenditure and public revenue. In public revenue, we have tax revenue and non-tax revenue. So, tax revenue and non-tax revenue are the instruments of fiscal policy. Public expenditure is another instrument of fiscal policy. So, fiscal policy is aimed at obtaining several matters. So, let's look at the objectives of fiscal policy. Fiscal policy aims at full employment in the economy. Although it is an ideal situation, fiscal policy or the policy of government related to expenditure and revenue of the government tries to obtain full employment as much as possible. So full employment is one of the objectives of fiscal policy. Economic stability and price stability. So fiscal policy aims to control inflation during the period of boom, or control deflation during the period of recession or depression in the economy. Fiscal policy tries to bring back the stability in the economy, to ensure the economic stability, price stability in the economy is an important objective of fiscal policy. Fiscal policy also aims at ensuring economic development, maximizing economic growth in the economy. The fiscal policy will help the nation to grow when the optimum allocation of resources are made possible. So, optimum allocation of resources is another objective of fiscal policy. Capital accumulation, capital formation is also another objective of fiscal policy. So, these are briefly the objectives of fiscal policy. Fiscal policy aims at economic development, maximizing economic growth, ensuring economic stability or price stability. And now let's look at the contra-cyclical fiscal policy. Contra-cyclical fiscal policy takes two forms. One is a contractionary fiscal policy. Second one is expansionary fiscal policy. When does government adopt contractionary fiscal policy? So, where do you hear the policy like this? So, you will hear the policy, you will see the policy being declared by the government through the budget or through the newspapers. So, you will hear the news regarding the contra-cyclical fiscal policy. So, government adopts or declares the fiscal policy which is contractionary in nature when the economy is suffering from inflation. So, when the economy is experiencing a huge rise in general price level, government will try to control the price level, will try to reduce the level of prices in the economy by adopting a contractionary fiscal policy. So, what does the contractionary fiscal policy mean? Contractionary fiscal policy is the policy of the government using its revenue and expenditure. So, government will try to reduce the general price level using the contractionary fiscal policy. So, by contractionary fiscal policy, we mean the expenditure will be reduced. So, government will reduce the government expenditure. That means the money being pumped into the economy by the government will be regulated, will be restricted. So, that means that will help reduce the purchasing power of the economy or in the economy. So, up to a limit, the price level will be reduced when government expenditure is reduced. Government expenditure will become the people's income, economy's revenue. So when government expenditure is restricted, economy's income generation will also be restricted. That means the price level will be controlled up to a limit. So that is one instrument of fiscal policy as part of the contractionary fiscal policies. Government will reduce the public expenditure. Alongside, government will increase the tax rate or introduce new taxes as part of the contractionary fiscal policy. So when the economy is reeling from the clutches of inflation or hyperinflation or any type of inflation, government will introduce new taxes or government will increase the existing tax rates. So when new taxes are introduced, the people's income will be regulated, purchasing power will be controlled. So economy will see a fall in price level when the income when the government expenditure is reduced and people's income are directly regulated by the introduction of new taxes or increase in the existing tax rates. So that is the way of regulating the price rise in the economy, the price level in the economy by using the contractionary fiscal policy. So this type of policy will be followed generally by the government when the economy is suffering from the issues of inflation. At the same time, when the economy is having some recession, when the economy is showing some recessionary trend, then the government will try to stimulate the economy using the same fiscal policy instruments. So we already know that fiscal policy instruments are public expenditure and public revenue are the fiscal policy instruments. So using the same fiscal instruments, changing the direction of the instruments, government will try to stimulate the economy and will try to increase the general price level in the economy. So when the economy is having some recession, it is likely that the price level will be generally at a lower level. So that level has to be increased by the government. So for that, government will try to stimulate the economy by adopting an expansionary fiscal policy. So what does the expansionary fiscal policy mean? Expansionary fiscal policy is the policy of the increasing public expenditure and reducing the tax rate or cutting down the tax, removing some taxes or reducing the existing tax rate. So that is the way of expanding the purchasing power of the people in the economy. Then the economy will be stimulated, employment will be created, employment generation will be taking place, economy will be happy, then people will have the employment. So that is a way of stimulating the economy. So that is materialized by the government through increasing the government expenditure as much as possible. Wherever it is possible, government will increase the government expenditure. So government expenditure will stimulate the economy. So when the economy is having is in a dull situation, government will increase the public expenditure, thereby the general price level will be improved. So that should be at a particular level. So that is a way of stimulating the economy using the public expenditure. So regarding the public revenues aspect, government will reduce the public tax rate. Tax is the major instrument of fiscal policy. So tax rates will be reduced especially the both direct and indirect taxes will be reduced. Some taxes may even be removed from the tax list, so that is also helpful economy to for being stimulated by the expansionary fiscal policy. So why this expansionary fiscal policy and the earlier contractionary fiscal policy are called the contra-cyclical fiscal policy? So this is to stabilize the economy. This is to ensure price stability in the economy. So this is against the cyclical fluctuations in the economy. So when the economy is having inflation, the policy should be contractionary. When the economy is in recessionary trend, the policy should be expansionary. So contractionary fiscal policy is the policy of the government by reducing the public expenditure and increasing the tax rate or introducing new taxes. That is contractionary fiscal policy. Then the general price level will be reduced. Similarly, the expansionary fiscal policy is the policy of the government by increasing the government expenditure and reducing the tax rates, or removing some taxes. So this is a contra-cyclical fiscal policy. And shortly, fiscal policy is the government's policy related to public expenditure and public revenue. Normally the people will hear about fiscal policy through budget presentation or the mid-year declarations by the government, and we will read it on newspapers, or we will hear it on news, audio visual media. So this fiscal policy, instruments of fiscal policy, objectives of fiscal policy, and contra-cyclical fiscal policy. Thank you.